I'm with Ken Dombrowski, Executive Life Coach and Master Hypnotist, and we want to do another video in our series, Client Success Stories. I know I have one in mind, and I already told you about it, so do you want to tell us about one of your success stories?
Well, yeah, we were just talking about a woman who came to us a couple of years ago, about a year, 2 years ago maybe. Probably early 60s, if I remember right. And the intake form and the discovery call was all about just her having a lot of anxiety and fear. And when she came into the office, I noticed that she's got the traditional white stick that a blind person would have. And she's walking with that, and her husband was with her, helping to guide her along. And she comes in and sits down, and we start chatting. And I said, I asked her, are you visually impaired? Do you have a problem there? She goes, oh yeah, I'm considered legally blind, so I can still see. I can see you, can see like a figure of you, but details or no. So we started talking about that, how that came about in her life, started as a child, and just this degeneration of her vision. Well, I had to ask her, so it's very interesting that you didn't mention that in your discovery call with Lauren, and you didn't add that into your questionnaire at all about being, legally blind and getting worse year after year. And then, of course, she just starts crying. She just bursts out crying because she just absolutely cannot accept the fact that she's going blind. Even though it's been happening over a 60-some-odd year period, she still cannot accept it. So we found real quickly that was the source of her anxiety and fear. Fear that she was going to completely lose her sight, and anxiety over when it was going to happen and how awful and how hard life was going to be. Well, what we did over a series of sessions for her was I did Reiki energy healing just on her head and face, of course, focusing on vision, as well as hypnosis. Well, after a session, before she'd leave, I'd ask her to look around, my office, and she'd say, "Oh, I didn't notice that you had that sign. I can read it now." "Oh, well, there's something over there. There's like a little placard, or maybe one of our many trophies and awards for what we do." She said, "Oh, I didn't know you had that." I said, "Now I can read that from across the room. I can see that now." And so what does that tell us? That tells us that a great deal of what she was experiencing in her vision loss was emotional. So now once we know that, and we really have something we can work with. So by the time she was done with our 8 sessions, she actually had a noticeable improvement in her vision. She said, so then at the same time, her anxiety was able to come down quite a bit, and her fear. She still had anxiety and fear about going blind, which makes sense. I mean, it's not going to go completely away, but it just made such a huge improvement in her life and how she was able to move forward.
Yeah, I think something you said in there that I think it's really important that we continue to touch on, because I think it's just, it needs to be said over and over again, is this is all for emotional wellness, emotional purposes. If you're coming to us, we're trying to help you on the emotional side of things. It's not mental health, it's not medical, it's strictly just emotional situations. Obviously, diagnoses will have an emotional side to them, but we need to make sure that if someone's coming to us for a specific reason, that it's something that we can help emotionally. Like people who come to us who have a problem losing weight or something like that. We need to make sure it's not a medical reason, it's not this, it's not that. It's an emotional situation. We can help you start to lose the weight, So yeah. I think that's super important, because when you said emotional, I'm like, yep, we should bring that up again.
Yeah. Well, how we say is we're all about emotional and spiritual well-being and health. So because those go hand in hand. But you're right. Yeah, mental health services are completely different, even though there's a great deal of crossover between mental health and emotional health. So mental health, and I think kind of as you were describing, someone comes to us with a mental health diagnosis, or many people come to us with multiple diagnoses. it helps us to see and get an understanding for what that client is going through, and then therefore I can better treat them. As well as we like, and this, I don't want this to sound wrong, but we like for people to have been in that space for a while. They've gone to therapy, they've done all the therapy until it's kind of maxed out for them. They've done the drug therapy route. They've done all the stuff to where it can, as far as it can get them, then come to see us. And the reason is that that person has been able to, in their mind, basically rule out that it's not medical, it's not mental, even though they don't know that consciously. Their subconscious says, this isn't working anymore, so now I need to find something else. Now, if someone comes to us as the first stop, so they're very likely to reject us.
That's kind of along the lines of what I was going to say. Is it's very important that people coming to us understand the mental health side of things first. Not necessarily that they've exhausted everything all the time, but that they understand their diagnoses. That's how I always put it, because you can understand what bipolar is, but you can't. Some people who get diagnosed with it need time to live with it in order to really understand what that means for them. So I think it's also a mixture of the two. You have to understand your mental health, and you have to have taken all the routes that are meant to help you traditionally. So then by the time you get to us, you understand that this is now an emotional issue, and that's where we come in and we can take it all the way home. That's how I see it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That was perfect.
Good. Do you have anything else to add on that one?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered that one pretty good.
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you for that story.
My pleasure.
If you would like to be our next client success story, call us today. Thank you for watching.